Hi everyone, Nick here. Hope everyone's doing well. I genuinely do. It's been a pretty crappy past couple of months, to be honest. I'll talk more about what's been going on with myself and the channel towards the end of the video, but I wanted to talk about some of the new X-Wing content we had. Just wanted to start the video with a bit of positive and say, hey, I really genuinely hope you are doing quite well, because at the end of the day, nothing is more important than our well-being, the well-being of those we care about, and our mental health. But we have some new stuff for the game that I have been waiting so long for. 2 ships in particular. Literally the first and second most ships that I've been wanting in this game for so long. So I'm glad to talk about it. We've got a lot of things to talk about that's happened over the past couple of weeks. I'm going to be making my way through all of that at my own pace. I just wanted to start out talking about these 2 things, the Razorcrest and the Gauntlet Fighter. It has been a long time coming. We had naysayers, particularly with the Gauntlet Fighter, but hey, here it is. Guess what? It's happening. I'm so hyped. It's going to be awesome. So this would make up Wave 11 of X-Wing 2nd Edition. We also have one more thing in the form of a new pilot pack, which is pretty cool. Looks like this is going to be once every 2 years they're bringing this out, unless they can quicken up the pace. I remember saying when this originally came out, if we can get a pilot pack out every single year, I think that would be a good healthy thing for the game, given the sparsity of the releases in X-Wing. But nevertheless, once every 2 years is still okay. Just got to have some kind of consistent way of specifically like getting upgrade cards out, especially to some of the newer players that don't want to buy every single pack. I'll always beat on that drum. I think accessibility is a very important thing to the game and one of the strengths of the game. So with that out of the way, let's talk about the Razorcrest. Mandalorian came out late 2019, I think it was. So it's been a bit of a wait. Literally from episode 1, we were wanting this thing in X-Wing. Apart from anything else, Star Wars media, since Disney has taken over, has been a very divisive thing for a lot of people, specifically for fans like myself. Being sort of a real fan, specifically of the original trilogy, the design choices, the plot choices, and everything from The Mandalorian really spoke to those classic Star Wars storytelling. And I think Dave Filoni really sort of honed in on that. Whether or not that was always designed to be a reaction to the newer movies that came out, which didn't really hit the mark, having this represented in the game is a very significant thing. It's a very grounded, very gritty form of Star Wars that I myself particularly love. It's not as sort of goofy as some of the newer stuff, which I love too, don't get me wrong. And we'll talk about that a bit when we get to the Gauntlet Fighter. But let's just start out talking about this mini. Man, this looks so good. With chrome paint as well, the detail just looks fantastic. I'm hoping, it looks this good in real life. One of the things I really want to start doing on this channel as well is when we get these new minis, actually sort of get it out of the box, take a real good look at it. Maybe talk about like repainting and stuff like that. So when I look at something like this, like, okay, this is actually something that, apart from game design and everything that I like to talk about, this is actually something worth showing off. This is really cool. Especially considering that the price of X-Wing is getting a bit more expensive. So, if they're upping the quality of their minis, I think that's okay. Not that I think X-Wing is all that expensive as people seem to make it out to be, but it looks awesome. Looks really awesome. So let's talk about the one pilot card we got, which is, of course, Din Djarin, the Mandalorian. I find it interesting that the name is the subtitle and the nickname is the main title. I know, I guess the Mandalorian is what is more commonly referred to as. It's just weird, like, from a formatting point of view, that triggers my OCD a little bit. Before we have a look at the initiative and pilotability, let's have a look at the frame of the ship itself. 3 red dice, 2 agility, 7 hull, 2 shield. Action bar consists of focus, evade, target lock, and a red barrel roll. We also had revealed the dial, so we'll just quickly bring that up as well. Nothing too nuts here. We have 2-speed Talon rolls and a 5-speed K-turn. Pretty middling dial. There are no blue maneuvers that are turns to speak of. They're all straight, being 1, 2, 3, 4 straight. It's kind of weird. Yeah, I don't know what to make of that. We have 2 white turns, so not all the turns are red, but the 1 speed and the 3 speed are. I don't know. Seems pretty cool. This is probably going to be a medium ship, so that seems like a pretty good dial. A bit of an upgrade over something like a G1A. Actually, speaking of which, if we're going to compare this to one other ship, I think the G1A is going to be the most apt thing. Now, the G1A has things like jam, but the dial's a bit worse. The hull and shield ratio is a bit better, but they both have 9 health. The Razorcrest has 2 agility as opposed to 1, and it's got an evade. So I think overall it's a bit of an increase in power level over the G1A. So it's likely to sort of sit points-wise a bit higher than the G1A caps out at its most expensive pilot, unless yet another squad builder hasn't added the new points in, at 49 points. I'll correct myself in post if that's incorrect, with 4 LOM. I imagine the Mandalorian's going to cost at least a good 10 points, if not more than that. So we're sort of getting sort of around the 60-ish point thing. And honestly, the Mandalorian feels like a bit of a powered-down Boba Fett. Let's talk about the pilot ability and initiative. Initiative 5, while you defend or perform an attack, if you're in the front arc at range 1 to 2 of 2 or more enemy ships, you may change one of your blank results to a focus result. So it has that same kind of brawling tactics as Boba Fett, but nowhere near as powerful. I mean, but let's be real, we're not talking about Boba Fett power level, but I like the fact that it does a similar thing on another medium base. Maybe it'll be a good thing to pair with Boba Fett. Given where the points are going to sit, though, I think it's going to be very difficult to balance that out. So we'll see what happens there. I don't know how to feel about this because it feels a bit like, I don't know, an ability like Fearless, where if you're point to point with an enemy ship, you get certain bonuses during attack. Same with like the baked in ability with the Fang fighters. The difference between that and this is, with a card like Fearless, you need to control where your ship is. And also it matters where your opponent's ship is, but only one of your opponent's ships. The same amount of ships need to be in a certain position on Mando's ability, but both of them are enemy ships, so you have even less agency to use this. And changing a blank to a focus is cool, I guess. It combos nicely with an upgrade we're about to have a look at. But it seems difficult to do and harder to pull off. Maybe that's an okay thing. Maybe that will be reflected in the points. Maybe because it doesn't feel as powerful as something like Boba Fett. It'll be way cheaper. And that's going to help it when, you know, you're building out your list and that kind of stuff. I am kind of disappointed the Mandalorian doesn't have a really cool flashy ability. Because, you know, the Mandalorian is one of the cooler new characters in Star Wars. But, whatever. Still a cool design. I like what this ship is trying to do. It's not a super thinky ship like a lot of the new things we get. It doesn't have any crazy new abilities or new tokens or anything like that. It looks like a classic X-Wing ship, and I'm more than okay with that. So that's cool. Let's move over to the child. The one upgrade that we had revealed that's going to be in this pack. It is Mr. Grogu himself. It's going to be a crew on Empire, Rebel, or Scum. Adds 2 force. They're not recurring, though. Setup, after placing forces, choose an opponent. They assign Merciless Pursuit to 2 of their ships. Your force loses the recurring icon. After you defend, if you suffer damage during that attack, recover 1 force. So a few things are going on here that I should explain. Your force loses the recurring icon. Now, you might be looking at this thinking, but the force doesn't have the recurring icon. It means if you put it on a ship that already has a recurring force, you don't get it. But the cool thing is, if you were to put it onto a force user like a Sarge Ventress with 2 force slots, well, you've got 4. And that's really, really cool. You still have ways of recurring force, even if it isn't, you know, the upticking by 1 every single turn. That's still quite powerful, even though it's not strictly better, if that makes any sense. Also, we have a condition that goes along with this, Merciless Pursuit. So your opponent gets to choose which 2 ships this goes on to, and basically, if they attack the ship with the child on it, they get to perform a target lock on that ship, which is very, very dangerous. I'm not sure what to make of this. The ceiling of the child is very, very powerful. It adds 2 force to anything that can carry crew. That's really, really cool. We know from experience that simply adding a force onto a scum ship in a crew slot itself is so powerful. With the Maul crew, for example, it's seen a lot of meta play in a lot of different ways. This, as a flaw, just gives you 2 force, and you're probably going to get him back if you're super aggressive. Like, you chuck this on Boba Fett. No, you can't chuck it on Boba Fett. He doesn't have any crew anymore. Which is weird. But if you put it on like anything else that wants to brawl, you're going to be getting those force back pretty consistently. The problem is the Merciless Pursuit card is, it can be such a downside. Obviously, if you're fighting against like a Vulture Swarm, yeah, you're not worried so much if the odd Vulture Droid gets a target lock against you, obviously. But if you're flying against an ace build or like a 2 big ship build, this is quite bad for you. This can have some serious downside. So I don't know. I guess the way to really fly with this, if it's going to see meta play, is to really leverage that upside as much as you possibly can and just sort of see how good that is, if that makes any sense. If you can be so aggressive that your opponent getting target locks against you probably won't matter most of the time, I can see this being really good. Of course, you know, how do you balance this points-wise? I've got no idea. This one's going to be really interesting once we have the points for it, so can't wait for that. So yeah, that's pretty dope. Let's move over to the Gauntlet Fighter. I've been asking for this ship for so long. I've been asking for this ship since like late first edition. So they've gone for a pretty interesting design here. What FFG have done is they've put it onto most different factions. I just don't think there's Resistance or First Order, which, given the history of this ship, makes sense. What's it? Separatist, Republic, Rebel Empire, and Scum. So that's interesting. From a design perspective, I don't know how to feel about that. Not because I don't think it's necessarily an okay thing to do with this ship. I mean, if it's going to be with a ship within the extended Disney canon, it makes sense. But purely from a game design point of view, I like to err on the side of simplicity. And my philosophy is, if it cleanly fits onto one faction, it probably should just be on one faction. And that faction probably should just be Scum. Scum has a history of ships that could arguably be on different things, but, you know, it's kind of like the faction that doesn't take sides, so that's okay on the Scum faction. So I don't know. I think it's frustrating from a point of view because all the different named pilots and the different factions are going to have different abilities, and inevitably one of them is going to be way more powerful than the others. And it's I don't know whether that messes with faction identity. It has potential to go wrong, and I'm not a fan of this kind of design per se. We saw it sort of warp the game with Captain Nim in first edition. For those of you who didn't play, there was a Rebel and Scum Captain Nim, and Captain Nim on the Rebel faction was a tenuous link at best, if you know the extended lore. He sort of flies for the Rebels, sort of, but then betrays them. I'm not an expert on canon. I sort of read up on it after the fact to learn about that. And I guess the Gauntlet Fighter, yes, we do have clear examples of when it flew on different factions. Yeah, I'm kind of torn in my mind. Like, in the comment section, obviously, everyone watching, please tell me what you think of this. Is it a fair thing to have on multiple factions? Is it going to sort of water down the faction identity a bit too much? I don't think that's going to be the case, but yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts, as always. Let's have a look at the frame of the ship for the time being. Here is the pilot card we had revealed in Bo-Katan on the Separatists. So it does shoot backwards, which is kind of cool. 3 red dice out the front, 2 red dice out the back, 2 agility, 9 hull, 2 shield, and, well, in the case of this card, a recurring charge, but obviously that's nothing to do with the frame. The actions are Focus, Reinforce, that's red, Target Lock, and Red Coordinate. Coordinate's really cool on this, actually. And we also have the dial, which is pretty meh. It's got a bit of speed on it, though. It can go 4 forward, which is not insignificant on a large base ship. We know this is going to be large base. It'd be insane to be anything else. But nothing really crazy. It's got speed. It's got okay maneuverability. 2 hard turns, no 1 hard turns. 3 red turn. that's being read. It's not ideal, but it's got a full stop as well. It's pretty hard to analyze. No special maneuvers though, unless you count the full stop special maneuver. There's no K turns. There's no Talon rolls, anything like that. Which I kind of thought there would be, given what this ship does in like the Rebels TV show, where it's a pretty apt dogfighter. It works pretty well. But this feels a bit more like a support role with a rear cannon. I don't know. It's cool. I don't mind the fact that the dial's pretty average. I just don't know how to analyze it. Let's go back to Bo-Katan for a second and talk about this pilot ability initiative, Initiative 4. Before a friendly ship at range 0 to 2 activates, you may spend 1 charge. As I said before, 1 recurring charge. If you do, that ship may gain 1 strain token to remove 1 non-stress red or orange token. And Bo-Katan can use it on her own ship, which is really, really cool. It's non-stress though, so tractor tokens. Oh yeah, that could work alongside a Nantex or something like that. We've got to gain a strain token. I mean, it seems alright. I don't know. The fact that Bo-Katan can use it on herself gives it flexibility. I always like flexibility. I don't know, that just doesn't wow me as an ability. But, still Initiative 4, still has reinforce, 3-rate dice, coordinate, that kind of stuff. So maybe you'd fly this even if, the pilot ability is pretty average. Don't think we're going to be seeing a tactical relay on something like this, but you never know. We also had here this small spread of pilot cards, another Bo-Katan as well. Same initiative on the Republic this time. She likes to change sides every now and then. After you fully execute a maneuver, you may gain 1 deplete token to choose an object in your forward arc at range 1 to 2. If you do, another friendly ship may perform a target lock on that option. Doesn't say it ignores range restriction on target lock, but that's cool. It cannot be Bo-Katan, but at the same time, there's no range restriction on the ship that you're picking. So that's pretty cool. In terms of another ship that could do that, you get target locks for your Y-wings and stuff like that. Maybe a Rebel starfighter flying alongside this. Again, it's good. It seems fine. But it's just, I think the ship itself is the more exciting element of this. Just talking about this spread of pilot cards, by the way, we can see here that we have 1 card for each of the factions I described before, but some of them are unique and some of them are non-unique. I think what's going to happen here is we don't have all the pilot cards revealed. I think what's going to happen is we're going to have a unique and non-unique pilot on every faction. Probably like a Bo-Katan on the old factions. We can see here, for example, there's a non-unique Scum Gauntlet. And you can see sort of like the tip of the wing is red. I really hope the unique pilot, if they're going to add it in, it's going to be Maul. And we're going to have like a Knight Brother title. Please, FFG. Please do that. I really want Maul on the Gauntlet Fighter. It's going to be awesome. Also, there's a unique Initiative 2 Rebel pilot. Which is cool. Oh, I mean, probably be semi-unique because you can see here that that's like italic flavor text. Maybe it's like a Clan Ren something. There's the same with a Empire pilot as well, and there is, I think, a unique Rebel pilot Initiative 4. Might be Bo-Katan again, although would Bo-Katan be on the Rebels? I don't think that makes sense. Maybe it'll be like Ezra or Sabine or something like that. I think that'd probably make more sense. But very cool nonetheless. Don't have anything else really that much spoiled for this. We do have this upgrade card here. The Clan Ren Commandos. Looks like there's going to be a corresponding card for each faction. So it's faction appropriate for the sort of remote little Mandalorians we get. In the case of Clan Ren Commandos, we have 2 charges, takes up 2 crew slots, which means it's going to get 2 crew slots, which can do some pretty dumb things on multi-factions. Someone's going to break that. Or we can put Palp on it. That just occurred to me. That's pretty cool. Rebel non-small ship. During the system phase, you may spend 1 charge to drop a commando team. Using the 1 template, you may place this device using its front or rear guides. and you can't recover those charges through like chopper shenanigans and that kind of stuff. Just having a look at an example of one of the remote cards. This is the Scum one, the Mandalorian Super Commandos, Initiative 2. After enemy ship overlaps you, it gains a strain token. Activation phase. At the start of this phase, you may relocate using a 1 hard or 2 straight template. Engagement phase, you cannot attack if there's an enemy ship at range 0. In other words, they're flying away trying to avoid the enemy ship. To perform an attack, you must spend 1 charge. While you perform an attack, you may change 1 focus result to a hit result. That's kind of cool. It's a missile attack, so you don't get range bonuses at range 1. This is the goofy stuff I was talking about. You got actual little people flying around in space, going pew pew, in like this tabletop warfare game with like spaceships flying around. It's kind of fun. It's kind of goofy. I like it. Also, is that the Maul armor from when Maul took over Mandalore with the red and the cool stuff? If you ever watch Clone Wars, you should watch Clone Wars. It's a good TV show. It looks like it's going to be a remote token. I kind of want a miniature for this, but at the same time, what's the scale of X-Wing? It's like 1 to 220. They'd be absolutely minuscule, the little people, for this, so maybe not. Maybe that'd just be silly, but I don't know. I like that idea. Someone's going to do it. Someone's going to build that. Okay, we did have one last thing revealed from AMG. We have a new Mandalorian-themed card pack coming out with some new pilots. From what we heard from the presentation, it looks like there's a good chance there'll be a Moff Gideon TIE Fighter pilot. However, for the time being, we had this revealed. It is an initiative for ISB Jingoist. It is semi-unique. You only have 2 of them on one squad. Before you engage, you may choose 1 enemy ship in your forward arc at range 0 to 1. If you do, that ship gains 1 deplete or strain token of your choice unless it chooses to remove 1 green token. Now, I'm going to assume that it must have a green token in order to make that choice. I don't think it's going to be a case of, I remove a green token. I don't have any, there's no effect. It's a bit weird the way that's worded. I think it would be good if it said that ship gains 1 deplete or strain token, full stop. If that ship has a green token, it may choose to remove it instead. Whatever, who cares? But it's a nice little bit of control. It feels a bit aggressive for a TIE fighter. Like, you're not really sort of using swarm tactics as much with something like this. I don't know. I don't really fly this kind of stuff. I'm not an Empire player myself, so in the comments below, if you are, tell me what you think is going to make the TIE swarm happen. I guess we'll see. And last but not least, we have Fenrao. So this is the same Fenrao that's on the Fang Fighter, except he's on the Rebellion this time, which is kind of cool. Just as a side note, kind of weird as well, because Fenrao doesn't join the Rebellion until after he loses his fleet of Fang Fighters. So I guess it's like some weird alternate universe fun stuff. Don't question it. It's cool. It's cool, so don't question it. The Mandalorian Protector, Initiative 6, just like his Scum counterpart. Before a friendly ship at range 1 to 2 engages, if there is an enemy ship in its forward arc at range 1, that friendly ship may remove 1 non-lock red token. That's really powerful. Really powerful. I like the fact as well that it doesn't say a friendly ship at range 0 to 2, so Fenrao can't use that ability on himself. I think if that was the case, it would just fly too much like a dedicated ace, and its flying wouldn't focus on the group hug effect that the Rebellion likes. So I think that's a good design choice right there. And it's just obviously powerful. I think this is probably going to cost the same as, if not more than, the Scum Fenrao. They're both just really, really cool and good, and I like it. I like that this is on the Rebellion. But obviously the Rebellion's not going to get like all the generic Fang Fighters. It's not going to get like old Terok and that kind of stuff. So a one-off is kind of fun. And I also love that they're just going, hey, if you've got this mini, hey, here's a card and a template for your card pack that you're getting. You don't have to go buy that Scum thing if you want, but if you do, you can at least use it on your preferred faction. So it's kind of like cross-pollinating the market within X-Wing. It means that players have good reason to buy out of faction, maybe get some upgrade cards, and also sort of use the ship at the same time. What I mean by that is if you're a Rebel player and you really wanted an upgrade card that was only in that friggin' Fang Fighter pack. Oh, I don't want to buy a pack just for an upgrade. Yes, obviously it would be great if AMG/FFG gave us those cards in an easy to access pack. But at the same time, hey, you've got another reason to get that Fang Fighter pack. So that's cool. I like it. It just makes everything more usable. It just makes... yeah, I like it. Bottom line is I like this kind of thing. And I love the design of this card. I think it's really, really cool. Fenrao is a very, very fun pilot to play on the Scum faction, and I think he's going to be as good. And I think he'll be just as fun in the Rebellion. That's kind of cool. So that's all the content we have from this upcoming Wave 11. We're talking about getting this maybe Q2 next year based on what little we know. We don't have an official website for this stuff yet, which would be cool. I just want to finish off this video by talking about what's been going on. It's been nearly a couple of months since my last video, maybe a bit over a month, something like that. It's been a pretty rough time here in Melbourne. We've gone into another lockdown. We've actually started to get more daily cases of coronavirus than we did in last year's big lockdown. And the general feeling from myself and a lot of other Melburnians I've spoken to is this one sort of hurts a bit more. We're all really starting to get over it. Obviously, myself and most people I talk to are, following the rules because it's the right thing to do, trying to protect each other. It's a good thing that we're doing, but it's really taken a toll this time round. I'm not the kind of person that goes, oh, cool, we're locked down. I have all this time to make videos. I need to be mentally on to make this kind of content. And I've really been working over that over the last week or so and sort of really getting myself into a better frame of mind. And I think that's important. At the end of the day, the most important thing for everyone, myself and all of you watching, is that you take care of yourselves. Please take care of yourselves. Don't worry about little plastic ships when, you have to think about mental health stuff. That really is way, way, way more important. Like, seriously. But at the same time, it is fun to talk about this kind of stuff. I love making YouTube videos. I always say this. I'll always come back to it. I know I take massive breaks every now and then because, this stuff happens and it sucks. But yeah, it's good fun. It feels good to be in front of the camera again, just talking about dumb stuff that I love. And yeah, that's cool. With all that out of the way, thank you all so much for watching. You have a great day. Seriously, take care of yourselves. Like, comment, subscribe, ring the bell, all that kind of stuff. Patreon if you want to support the channel down in the comments below. And with that, we'll catch you all in the next video.